Christina Applegate has built her career on honesty, talent, and a sense of humor that masks pain. But behind the laughs and iconic performances lies a series of health challenges that have dramatically reshaped her daily life. Recently, she revealed struggles that go far beyond what most fans could imagine. From chronic illness to acute infections, the realities she faces are both humbling and tragic. Her story is raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. Living with multiple sclerosis. Christina Applegate was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, MS, in August 2021, a revelation that changed her life completely. MS is an autoimmune disease affecting the central nervous system, leading to muscle weakness, fatigue, dizziness, and difficulty with balance. For someone whose career relies on energy and precision, the diagnosis was profoundly disruptive. Applegate described the shock of learning she had a disease with no cure, one that would unpredictably affect her mobility and autonomy. Daily routines that most people take for granted, getting out of bed, walking across a room, preparing a meal, suddenly required immense effort. She has been candid about how the disease altered her sense of independence. Even minor tasks can trigger physical exhaustion or severe flare-ups. Sleep is often interrupted by neurological symptoms, and energy reserves are unpredictable. Beyond the physical toll, there is the emotional strain of adapting to a life where the body is no longer entirely reliable. Applegate emphasized that humor has become a crucial coping mechanism. She uses it to maintain a sense of identity and to communicate the realities of her condition without being defined by them. Her openness provides rare insight into what life is like for someone managing a chronic, invisible illness. The balance between physical limitations, emotional stress, and public life is precarious, and Applegate's narrative highlights the constant negotiation required to maintain dignity and function each day. Through her podcast and interviews, she has expressed frustration with MS, describing it as a disease that intrudes into the smallest, most personal aspects of life. She has refused to hide from her audience, choosing instead to share candid details about living with a condition that reshapes the very fundamentals of daily existence. Her story is not only about survival, but also about confronting the humiliation, unpredictability, and isolation that MS brings with brutal honesty. Contracting COVID-19 and developing long COVID. While managing MS, Christina faced another major challenge, contracting COVID-19 for the first time. The virus came from someone very close to her who inadvertently brought it home after visiting a bowling alley. Due to her compromised immune system, she immediately feared severe complications. Initially, her symptoms were mild, headache, chills, and fatigue, but within days, her condition worsened. The illness progressed into long COVID, causing a chronic state of exhaustion, heart palpitations, and susceptibility to secondary infections. Long COVID intensified the challenges already posed by MS. She described a state where even minor physical activity could trigger dizziness or fatigue, making basic tasks nearly impossible. The combination of a neurological disorder and post-viral complications created a daily reality of unpredictability, where she never knew whether the next hour would bring further debilitation. Christina also expressed the psychological strain, explaining how fear and uncertainty infiltrated her day-to-day life. Sleep became irregular, energy levels fluctuated sharply, and her ability to maintain routine tasks diminished. She emphasized that her openness about COVID-19 was not for sympathy, but to shed light on the compounded effects of chronic and viral illnesses. Being immunocompromised, each symptom was a potential warning sign of a deeper problem, amplifying both fear and stress. For a public figure known for her energy and resilience, these months represented a stark confrontation with vulnerability. Christina's account demonstrates the often overlooked severity of long COVID, particularly for individuals already living with immune-related conditions. Her narrative underscores how a single virus can drastically alter life for someone whose health is already fragile, making every ordinary task an exercise in endurance and vigilance. The sapovirus infection and daily humiliation. Just as Christina Applegate was struggling to recover from long COVID, she was struck by another debilitating health crisis. A sapovirus infection. Sapovirus is a highly contagious gastrointestinal virus, often transmitted through contaminated food or contact with infected individuals. For Christina, the consequences were far from minor. She endured nearly 3 weeks of relentless symptoms, including uncontrollable diarrhea, severe nausea, dizziness, and extreme physical weakness. The virus attacked her body with such intensity that even the most basic bodily functions became unpredictable. Eating, drinking, or even standing for a few minutes required tremendous effort, and she quickly realized that she could not manage on her own without some form of aid. The severity of the illness forced her to use adult diapers, a deeply personal adjustment for someone accustomed to managing her own life independently. Christina admitted openly that this new reality was both humiliating and emotionally taxing, highlighting the profound impact of illness on personal dignity. Tracing the source of the infection, Christina linked it to a takeout salad from a restaurant she had trusted and frequented for 15 years. The revelation that a routine meal could lead to such debilitating illness was both shocking and frustrating. Beyond the physical suffering, the infection created constant logistical challenges. Nights were sleepless, punctuated by urgent trips to the bathroom or cleanups in the middle of the night. At times, she would wake up to find that she had soiled herself while asleep, an experience compounded by the mobility limitations imposed by MS. These incidents required immediate cleanup, adding physical strain and emotional distress. Even simple tasks like changing sheets, showering, or preparing food became monumental undertakings, highlighting the brutal intersection of chronic and acute illness. The sapovirus infection also imposed profound social and familial limitations. Christina had to cancel plans to visit her brother and meet her newborn niece, a loss that weighed heavily on her emotionally. She spoke candidly about the isolation this enforced separation created, noting that it was not only the physical incapacitation that was painful, but also the emotional toll of being cut off from loved ones. The unpredictability of her body created a constant anxiety. Traveling, attending social events, or even moving around her own home carried the risk of accidents. The humiliation of bodily functions, the reliance on adult diapers, and the constant vigilance required to manage her symptoms became daily reminders of her vulnerability. Christina's experience illustrates the profound impact that a single acute infection can have when layered on top of an existing chronic illness. The sapovirus not only caused severe physical distress, but also magnified feelings of frustration, helplessness, and indignity. Her honesty in discussing these experiences offers an unfiltered view into the challenges of living with multiple, overlapping health crises. It demonstrates the emotional resilience required to navigate life when ordinary activities, sleeping, eating, moving, become unpredictable and exhausting, providing fans with a rare, candid glimpse into the daily realities of enduring chronic disease compounded by acute illness, isolation, emotional strain, and family impact. The compounded effects of MS, long COVID, and sapovirus drastically altered Christina's interactions with family and friends. She had intended to visit her brother and his newborn baby, but realized she could not make the trip. Beyond the obvious logistical challenges, there was fear of accidents, embarrassment, and worsening her health. She described waking up in the middle of the night to discover she had soiled herself, a situation made more difficult by MS-related motor limitations. The isolation was as much emotional as it was physical, leaving her cut off from meaningful family moments and social support. Emotionally, the toll was severe. Christina admitted moments of frustration, sadness, and vulnerability, compounded by the inability to control her body or anticipate illness episodes. Humor became a vital coping mechanism, a way to regain agency over a life increasingly dictated by disease. Her candid storytelling reflects a balance between despair and resilience, showing how she navigates the psychological burden of living with chronic and acute illnesses simultaneously. Fans witness a celebrity confronting very human fears: loss of independence, social isolation, and the humiliation of bodily dysfunction. These experiences also reshaped her identity. The actress who once relied on precision, energy, and stage presence now had to reconcile with limits imposed by her health. Through transparency, she communicates both the struggle and the adaptation required to live with MS and the consequences of infections. Christina's openness emphasizes that vulnerability does not negate strength. Instead, it reveals the profound courage required to face daily life when even the simplest tasks become overwhelming. Advocacy through honesty. Christina Applegate's decision to openly share the realities of her health struggles goes far beyond mere personal disclosure. It has become a form of advocacy in its own right. Living with multiple sclerosis, compounded by long COVID and a severe sapovirus infection, Christina has faced layers of physical, emotional, and social challenges that are difficult for many to imagine. Yet she chooses to confront these challenges publicly, refusing to sanitize or obscure the harsh truths of her experience. In doing so, she challenges the stigma often associated with chronic illness, bodily functions, and disability, confronting societal discomfort head-on while modeling a path toward honest engagement with one's own vulnerabilities. Through her podcasts, interviews, and candid conversations, Christina provides rare insight into the day-to-day realities of living with overlapping health crises. She speaks about moments that most people might consider too intimate or embarrassing to share: the reliance on adult diapers, the exhaustion of managing flare-ups while navigating ordinary daily tasks, and the constant vigilance required to avoid accidents or infections. Her storytelling is unflinching and often laced with humor, which she explains is a crucial survival tool. Humor allows her to process the indignities she endures, while honesty prevents her from suppressing or minimizing the scope of her suffering. In one podcast episode, she openly recounted waking up in the middle of the night to find herself incapacitated by bodily functions, grappling not only with physical discomfort but also the emotional weight of humiliation. Sharing these experiences transforms them into a form of advocacy by shedding light on realities that are often hidden or ignored, particularly for people living with chronic illness who must navigate public spaces and relationships while managing invisible symptoms. Christina also emphasizes the non-linear nature of coping with illness. She rejects the idea that acceptance of a new normal is instantaneous or absolute, countering the public narrative that those with chronic conditions must simply adapt and persevere silently. Instead, she articulates the messiness, unpredictability, and emotional burden inherent in her daily life, demonstrating that resilience is not about perfection or stoicism, but about persistence, adaptability, and self-expression. By modeling this kind of authenticity, she provides guidance to others facing similar health struggles, offering reassurance that vulnerability is not a weakness and that openly discussing challenges can be both empowering and liberating. Beyond the personal, Christina's advocacy reframes public perceptions of chronic illness. By discussing issues that range from bowel control to infection risks, she destigmatizes experiences often shrouded in shame. Her transparency gives visibility to the complex interplay between physical health, mental health, and social life, highlighting the challenges of managing a chronic condition in a world that rarely accommodates or acknowledges such struggles. Through her honesty, Christina Applegate has become more than an entertainer. She has become a voice for those whose daily battles often remain invisible, illustrating that advocacy can emerge not only through campaigns or policy, but also through the courage to speak openly about one's lived experience. Resilience amid unrelenting challenges. Despite the succession of challenges, MS, long COVID, sapovirus, isolation, and humiliation, Christina continues to demonstrate remarkable resilience. She acknowledges the absurdity and difficulty of her circumstances, yet refuses to let them define her spirit. Her humor and candidness are mechanisms of survival, allowing her to confront situations that would overwhelm most people. Christina's story illustrates the intersection of chronic and acute illness, vulnerability, and perseverance. She provides an unfiltered view of the consequences of disease, emphasizing that the journey is neither clean nor private. Fans and observers witness a celebrity stripped of glamour, navigating profound health struggles with honesty and courage. Her narrative underscores that resilience is complex, requiring mental, emotional, and physical effort every day. Christina's transparency not only engages her audience, but also offers hope and validation for anyone facing similar battles, proving that even in the most challenging circumstances, strength and voice can persist. Christina Applegate's story challenges perceptions of strength, independence, and celebrity. It is a stark reminder that illness can affect anyone, regardless of fame or fortune. By sharing her experiences, she transforms personal struggle into advocacy, humor into coping, and vulnerability into resilience. Her journey inspires reflection on how we confront our own health, dignity, and support systems.